Okay, it's Sunday the 18th of March and I'm at Senda Costera. Difficulty is medium, duration 3 hours, so I figured it'll take me about 4 hours. Where I am is where that red circle is, upper left hand corner that I've made. And I'll be following the dotted line down to, well, across to that stream, which the trail parallels the road I just came down from the right to left, and then going directly to La Pattaya Bay. That isn't right. And then I follow the trail back over to here and decide where I want to grab the bus, wherever those two bus icons are. It was raining like crazy when I got up, and now the sun is out and it looks like it might be a nice day, so we'll get started. Almost immediately is a fence that is on the other side of the trail to the right here, from the left side where the road is. I don't know if it's to keep horses in, keep people out. Horses generally seem to have free rein in the park here. I have to be particularly careful today because these roots will be very, very slippery, and it's very sloppy even where there aren't roots. Here's one of the imported bunny rabbits that are exotics, and along with several other species, plague the south part of Argentina. I'm rather thinking that this fence is an accommodation to an adjacent landowner. Sometimes in the States, national parks, in order to be formed, have to accommodate existing enterprises, and this may be such an example. Here we can make out the early morning sun, mid-morning sun, evaporating away last night and this morning's rain a bit. Apparently things don't decompose for two reasons. One, the water is very acidic for a reason I don't know, and the low temperatures down here at the tip of Argentina. Here's some evidence of something digging in here. What it would be, I don't know, except for the exotic gray fox that they have. A little bit of a view, and some kind of structure over there on the hill to the left side right now, which may be the buildings of this estancia, if in fact it is one. This plant was interesting. It's got a little bit spines or needles on the end of its leaves, but I just thought its colorfulness is interesting. It reminds me of holly. And this log looks like something has tried to dig it out. Again, maybe the fox, I don't know. I don't know what else has the size to do this. The reason things like this are somewhat interesting is because there isn't much in the way of wildlife here, and very, very little that's authentic wildlife. If you don't know what bog is, this is it, and that may be the purpose of the fence, to keep us wackos who are used to traipsing all over the place away from our own uncomfortableness. Sometimes there's little hummocks, and you can see them over there a little ways, that you can sometimes balance your way across, but oftentimes they tumble when you stand on them, and you better be quick of foot because you have to move from one to the other. Sometimes they sink. This fence gives another clue that this is farm over on the right, because it's chewed down, and probably a lot of the water that we can see is the result of horses, maybe even cows, chomping around in it as they eat and stomping in it with their weight. Whereas on the left side you don't see any of that, but beware the hiker. It ain't the cute little meadow that it looks like. There isn't much evidence of bugs, but here in the sunlight you catch a few fleeting ones, so that accounts for some of the food for some of the birds. I'm sure I've photographed this before, but somehow in the sun it just caught my eye. Thought I'd show you a picture of some wildlife. ahead of me is either this bog that the steps provide a walkway over, or it's the stream that I'm supposed to pass. I can hear the stream, so I'm guessing this is not it. The only bird you hear is the sharp squeak squeak of the tree creeper. Well, there is a nice little stream flowing under this next little bridge, so perhaps the trail will turn right and up there a little ways. And the trails are sometimes very well marked, as it has been since I started to this point, with these yellow posts driven into the ground. But here, where I think we're turning down, and it makes sense that we would, according to the map, there is no yellow post at all, but a nearby sign indicates that we're in the right area. Now here, where you should have a yellow post immediately at the start of this part of the trail, there's none. I want to see how far I have to go before I find one. Okay, here's one not more than about 50 meters from the start, so this would be fine. The trail I took the other day, I could find no other extension of the trail except what looked like an extension that then petered out when I was a little bit of a ways down a very steep wooded area. This is a relatively nice little accoutrement, a little bit of a raised and controlled trail, so you're not right in the mud, although not too far from it. I always have to keep telling myself that this is a second world nation that has its culture a lackadaisical attitude towards anything, the completing of it or whatever. Family, they may not have such an attitude, but in works they do. And with regard to national parks, the important thing is that the land has been preserved, put aside, and to some degree protected. A pretty little grassy area with a sign seldom seen, a nice sign pointing that the direction of the trail is to the left, the way I just came. At first I didn't see any stumps in this area, but I started to notice them sporadically. And this one is kind of interesting because we can assume that that's one that was cut down a little bit over 100 years ago, and the one to the right is the one that's grown up since. And here's a little escarpment and a little runoff gulch. I show this only because there's not much else to show. If you got a camera, you gotta use it. Okay, now those birds are getting into a little more chirping for some reason. I heard that second mode also. Here someone was responsible enough to make it a safe walk down even when it's slippery with mud. And thank you to you. It may be people like this and little mini projects like this that may begin to slowly change the Latino mind. I don't know if this view gives the deep, dark, wet, moldy, mossy impression that I feel being here. As you can see, I'm not too far away from where the trail follows the Beagle Channel. Okay, we're approaching the shore. Hopefully the trail will avoid being in the muddy soil of the tree forest area and get out where it may not be so muddy and hiking so treacherous. There's the Cara, seen occasionally in Arizona. Well, so far I've lucked out today, considering it was stormy, rainy, windy at 8 o'clock, and now it's getting prettier and prettier. Don't know how long it'll last. An example of the rock that may form these mountains, at least this portion. Looks like some kind of layering, like shale, but I don't know. It was over that crest, right in, somewhere in the tree line, or just slightly above it, that I hiked the other day. And, bushwhacked down, probably almost on a straight line. Cold and blustery today. Along that white grebe, there's several of those now. And the gnawed end of this wood indicating the beaver that were brought probably from North America that now pestulate Argentina, and yet ironically it's a tourist attraction here in Ushuaia. As you can tell, it's a blustery day. I wonder what the tides here are like, what their characteristics are. This rock is shale-like, as you can see how my finger pressure just chips away, and then I can break it in my fingers. So maybe it's in the, maybe it is something like shale in one of those stages. Trying to find something that's alive in these little pools. There are two types of mollusks there that you can see, maybe even three. And there's some little thing that's running around in there, looks like a little worm. Whether we'll see him or not, I don't know. There he goes, left side of the screen. Some of these mollusks may be open to grab some of the food that the water shoves up here. no crabs, no starfish that I can see like you see further north, certainly Costa Rica. This little ledge here is riddled with broken shells and looks like a bone there. So maybe this is a place where some of the birds bring their catch if they dive down after it and maybe drop it here and break the shell open. Interesting how this appears to be not only the same color. Just thought this was an interesting old tree. Apparently the same intelligent person. These flowers are growing in a bog in a depression here. They look like daisies. And maybe they are from that family. The leaves are fairly large and wide, although they are pointed. I think we may be looking down the Beagle Channel. Not really sure. Too lazy to get out my map. I think Ushuaia is off to the left here. An oyster catcher. He'll just show his beak for us. I think they've got their beaks hidden underneath their wings. So I guess this is where I'm going. It's down there. Another hour's hike probably. Spectacular day it turned out to be.
You're 10 years old. It's special. Arthritis.
This looks like the wooden remains of a winch. You can see where the cable would have wrapped around. And then some big deal inside of here for turning it. Maybe it was somehow... At first I thought they'd painted some of the rocks on the beach to show where the trail was. But in fact, this is some kind of algae that grows on these rocks here. And it almost seems to be the only one. Somber little stream. Just interesting color contrasting in a place that doesn't have much contrast.